Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to What Women Want Talk Radio. I'm Judy Goss, and I'm here with my fabulous co-host, Kristin West, and our show tonight is Going After Your It. What is your it? And when you find it, what do you do with it? Our guests tonight are going to reveal how they tripped up on their life's purpose. So if you haven't found your it yet, we're going to clue you in on where to look for it and then grow it into something lucrative. Chaitra from Pink Pot and Jane Bishop, founder of Take the Next Step, are the ones who are going to enlighten us with their expertise. So we'll bring them on in just a few minutes. In the meantime, I want to thank all of you, our listeners. There's 10,000 of you now per show. It's fantastic. And after 3 years, we've managed to keep that up. And we've passed 750 downloads. So we are just happy with every single show. We have so much fun and hope you do also. If you want to listen to past shows, go to LA Talk Radio's website archives, latalkradio.com, or subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Play. You'll hear some of our celebrity guests who have been with us in the past year, like former O.J. Simpson prosecutor Marcia Clark, that was exciting, 5-time Olympian Jackie Edwards, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff author Dr. Kristin Carlson, and just recently, former Today Show anchor Jenna Wolfe was on, and even the co-founder of Guilt stopped by a few weeks ago to tell us how she built Guilt to become a billion-dollar business in 3 years. Wow. Always fascinating stuff, and tonight will be no exception. Okay, a little bit about my background. Besides being the host of this amazing radio show, I'm also a TV host, a regular contributor on NBC and Fox. I'm an entrepreneur. I founded the nationally acclaimed What Women Want networking group 5.5 years ago. Oh my gosh, with several live chapters spanning from coast to coast. I'm a St. Martin's Press published author and a freelance writer for New York Lifestyles magazine. And the most important job of all, I'm the mom of twin girls who are now almost 13 years old, just a few weeks away. And I'm a wife, but that's not a job if you have the right husband. What Women Want Networking, same name as our show, What Women Want Talk Radio, is having our first National Women's Conference. So listen up, Spirit of Women in Atlanta, October 7th through 8th. It's a day-and-a-half conference. Go to spiritofwomenconference.com for more info. It's featuring VIP sponsor womenforone.com. The founder of Women for One, Kelly McNellis, has millions of subscribers on our website and is running a workshop along with revenue breakthrough money expert Monica Shaw and the founder of souljourneys.ca, Jennifer Longmore. We're also thrilled to have psychotherapist to the stars and award-winning TV reporter Dr. Robbie Ludwig from New York City as a keynote at the conference, along with Melissa Carter, the famed radio show host in Atlanta. She was the first openly gay radio show host in the country. So if you're interested in more information about the conference, go to spiritofwomenconference.com. There are early bird tickets if you buy the tickets before July 15th. You can save $100. So go to spiritofwomenconference.com for more info. Okay, let's talk about Kristin West. Kristin is my awesome co-host of the show. She's an award-winning actress and producer. Her film, Seeking Valentina, has just been announced as an official selection at the Hollywood Dreams Film Festival in Las Vegas. She can also be seen in the upcoming films Sound, The Spirit Room, and Hell's Kitty, all due out later this year. Kristin, tell us about your movie, Seeking Valentina.
Hi, Judy. Thank you so much. Seeking Valentina is a psychological thriller about grief, and it's very Twin Peaks-ish. So if you're a fan of that style of filmmaking where you're constantly asking questions, that's what Seeking Valentina is about. It's a short film, and we're very pleased to be at Hollywood Dreams in August, and I will let everybody know the date as soon as I know it.
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I think it's the third week of August. I actually might be in Las Vegas at that time.
That would be super cool.
That would be really cool, yeah. So, good luck with that. I can't wait to hear all about how do you get picked for something like this?
There's an application process. There are over 4,000 film festivals in the world, and it's sort of matchmaking, kind of like online dating. We had that conversation a few weeks ago, but it's kind of like online dating for films. So you see once you have your film done, you see what types of film festivals take your kind of film, what their programming has been like in the past, and then you kind of go through a process of application and matchmaking and hopefully get many acceptances, which we've been very pleased to have.
Now, I'm into the networking thing because I have a company, right? A networking company. And do you have to network to get into some of these film festivals? Do you have to kind of like wine and dine and go meet people and that type of thing? Or is it solely based on your film, what it's about, your talent, and your background, that sort of thing? Or what's the criteria?
Thankfully, it's a mix of both, in my view. Some people are entirely, merit and artistic qualities, and some people are really more relationship oriented, just like any business. It helps to know and attend film festivals and get an idea of what the film festival runners like and what they don't. But obviously, a film that is made by a person you may know but doesn't have the technical requirements doesn't always stand the best chance. If the sound mix isn't right, or if the acting is not great. So it's a happy mixture in between.
Well, I'm so proud of you for going after your it and expanding your it into, producing. And do you direct too, or not yet? You will if you haven't yet.
I have directed one award show, and I actually co-directed it with my good friend Armin Nasseri.
See, you have so many talents.
Oh, well, thanks.
It's like a few it's in there.
And then I've directed plays, and I'm always looking to expand and test out new things. But I'm very happy producing and acting, because I think that really is something that really showcases what I'm feeling in my heart, and it uses my brain to do that, because I always need the heart-mind connection to really be successful in what I do.
That's your love, the acting and producing. Well, Chaitra, I'm going to bring her on in just a second. She found her love also, and she kind of tripped up on it. So it's an interesting story. She grew up in India. Chaitra, the creative geek, she calls herself, behind Pink Pot, a design and photography studio for creative entrepreneurs. She thrives on helping women entrepreneurs stand out and create a bigger visual impact online for the businesses. With over 4 years of experience, web design and development in the software industry, she started her own design studio in 2015. Photography developed as a passion on the side. Now she spends her days developing websites for creative businesses and teaching photography courses and workshops to creatively driven women. And she is so grateful for being able to do what she loves, just like you, Kristin. Welcome to the show, Chaitra.
Hey, thank you, Judy. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's our pleasure. So part of what we do here on What Women Want is to find out the story behind the story. Everybody's got one, right? And I happen to know that you didn't start out with something you loved. Can you just, tell us about how you evolved or kind of morphed into what you're doing now? And into the United States, I guess, too, is another story.
Yes, absolutely. So, I'm from India. I grew up in a city called Bangalore, which is kind of like the Silicon Valley of India. So while growing up, I did my high school and everything, and then I pursued computer science. I was interested in the subject, and I studied bachelor's of engineering in it, and then I did my master's in it. Following the master's degree, I obviously, joined a job, which followed from it was a part of my university program. I got recruited through the university hiring program, and I joined the company. But, within a few days there, I just knew it wasn't the place for me. It was
after only a few days. You said after only a few days.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! You're sitting at your chair. Okay, so you're sitting at your desk. You got your master's degree in computer. What was it? Science?
Yeah, computer science. Yes.
And after a few days, you're like, oh my God, what did I do?
I know. I was dreaming up this whole job thing, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be so much fun. And I ended up at this job. It was.
Go ahead.
So the job wasn't great. There were a lot of restrictions. The work environment wasn't great. It was really uninspiring. I would just cry and cry every morning while I was, commuting to work. It wasn't the place for me. So at the same time, my now husband and boyfriend, he suggested, applying at Carnegie Mellon University in the United States for a research internship. So I went ahead and did it. I had no hopes of getting in, but thankfully I did. I really liked coming here. The environment was really great. The academic environment was really inspiring. And I had a lot of time in the evenings. Now that I was in a different country, I was away from my family, and I had a lot of time on hand. So I started a blog, a lifestyle blog, to just share my experiences, day-to-day life stuff online, and that started growing. So that was how the whole story of my blog and now business started. From I think it started in around 2014. So
now I have a million questions. But yeah. I know Kristin does too. I can feel the smoke coming up out of her head. So your background is in computer science, but that's not necessarily marketing, even though you were in, I guess, analytics, right? So Did your blog take off because of your background, or do you think it was just something that people were interested in reading? I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, it was a lifestyle blog, so I would share beauty stuff. I was really smitten by Sephora at that time. We don't have Sephora in India, so I was really smitten by that. So I would share all these beauty things, and there was a big community online, lifestyle community, other girls and women sharing their experiences, travel experiences, whatever it may be, just everyday stuff. So
but did you use your background to pump it up, in the back end?
No, computer science. Yeah, I was using it for design. Yes, I used my computer science skills to create a really good-looking website. I coded up my own website on blogger.com. So the design kind of looked, non-typical. It was more customized, and it just looked better than the default one. So it started gaining traction. So everybody who was coming to my site started asking me about how I was doing my design, and also they were noticing the photography on the blog. So I started experimenting with photography because I knew if I wanted to grow my audience, I needed to have good photos on my blog. So design and photography started, becoming the main thing more than the lifestyle part of my blog. So people were more interested in it. So I started sharing more about, design tips on how to create a good-looking blog and how to improve your photos and those kind of things. So, yeah.
I love how you kind of mapped it all out for one of your clients. I think you did it for a couple of them, but what was it, Agent Athletica or something like that? And,
yes.
You kind of just laid out how you've selected her pictures and how you gave her, and you actually put the choices of logos that you gave her to choose from. So now this is really smart. I feel like this comes from, though, if you're majoring in marketing or something that's, a little more salesy / creative. How did you get all this knowledge? Did you take classes, or did it just kind of just something that you just really combined with your techie side and outbursted this, conclusion of an amazing career?
Yeah. So technical stuff was the thing I was good at, but marketing was something it's still new to me. I'm still figuring it out. It's been 2.5 years in business, and I'm still figuring it out, but I think Google is my best friend. I Google everything, and I think I got all the marketing knowledge that I have so far through Google and internet and with interacting with other business owners and that kind of a thing.
So, Kristin, we talk all the time about, finding out information and the whole world is at our fingertips type of thing. And, it's just if you don't use it, then you're kind of a fool. I feel like, the millennials and the younger generations understand this a lot more than, people like me do. But I'm the first one to turn to my kids and be like, Google it.
Right.
So that really is. So you really kind of self-taught yourself all of this. Kristin, what do you think of all this? Isn't it fascinating?
It is fascinating, and Chaitra, I'm really interested because you seem to be overflowing with all of these talents. Some of these you really trained for and spent the time in the classroom to acquire, and some of these talents that you have just seem to be innate. How do you?
Yeah.
You said on your website you can do anything, but not everything. How do you choose what to do, and how do you choose what to outsource or to delegate to something or someone else? How do you make that decision-making process?
Yeah, I think it's basically, it's very simple. It's just when you get up in the morning, you just decide what you like to do. So there are a few things about my business that I really love. Although the design and creative part of it, that is design and photography, is my thing, I really love doing it. But also I love doing the marketing side of it. It's funny how I have no background in business, but I'm really curious about those kind of things. There are a few things that I don't like doing, like, some kind of like monotonous things, like maybe organization. I'm really bad at organizing things in the back end. So those kind of things. And even like once you start taking on more projects and stuff, you can outsource like the coding part of it, because that takes more time and there's only so many projects I can do at a time. So yeah, you just figure out what at the moment you feel like doing and be really passionate about. Yeah.
Now, another important thing that you pointed out on your website is the role of consistency in your life. And you said that consistency breeds excellence. And I know consistency is something that I have struggled with off and on. And I really had to go out of my way to create a system for myself to keep creative, right-brained Kristin consistent. And I feel like you have that sort of right brain too, as well. How do you create consistency in your life? What systems do you put in place to make sure that Chaitra is on target and on message? I'm curious because you sound so talented.
Consistency, to be very honest, I struggle with consistency the most. It's really hard to, stay consistent with everything when you're doing a lot of things. Like I want to do so much, but there's only so much time. So it's really hard. And sometimes things slip down and I can't do it sometimes. But the thing is like having the schedule and also taking small steps. Like, for example, I really wanted to get into a fitness routine. And looking at it when it was January, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can do it. But it's all about taking small steps. So I started going to the gym like 3 times a week, like 20 minutes. So you start with very small steps. And once you get into that routine, it just gets easier. After like a month, now going to the gym is so much more easier than it was in December or January. And now after 6 months, it's even more easier. So it's like, I think taking small steps and also just giving yourself that grace that it's okay. Sometimes you can miss and it's okay. Yeah. We're all human, right?
Absolutely. Judy, what do you think of that? How do you keep consistent?
Oh, good Lord. Who says I'm consistent? I make a ton of lists. And I'm very organized, and I have a lot of kind of different types of careers going on. So I stay consistent really by categorizing myself. And when I'm doing something, I really give it my 150%. And then I move to the next thing. And I make sure that I keep doing that over and over again instead of like doing this here and that there and trying to, I end up all over the place. So for me to have consistency, I really need to stay organized and categorize the things that I'm doing. Put them in boxes and try not to stay in the box myself, but put what I'm working on, in a box so I can concentrate on it.
I think that's very
really
freeing. Yeah, I think that's very freeing to know when the box is helpful and when the box is not. And Chaitra, I wanted to ask you one more question because I like questions like this because there's no right answer or typical answer. So when you're designing websites, have you learned anything in designing websites that applies to everyday life, like designing your own life?
Yeah, so I go by very minimalistic design. I just like keeping things simple. So yeah, I think design is all about functionality than form. Many times we look at something and it looks so pretty, but if it's not serving its purpose and if it's not doing its the function it's supposed to do, then there's no point of it looking so good. So whether it's websites or even interior design or just designing, I don't know, anything, even small things like your dresses, your wardrobe, anything, I think, not just design, not just looks wise, it doesn't need to just look good, but it also needs to like really serve its purpose and why it's there. So I think that's one of the things that applies everywhere else, like, being simple and serving purpose.
Going after your it. You're going to have to be consistent and really wake up in the morning, Chaitra says, and live what you love, right? That's been been a common thread, honestly, through almost every single show of how we try to, be happy with what we have or find our life's purpose and that type of thing, is we really have to wake up and love what you do. So I have someone who is going to help us do that and apply some skills to, when you do find your it, how you maintain it and how you evolve it and build it and really take care of it. But Chaitra, would love for you to tell everyone, where we can find you, where we can find your blog, and more information about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is itspinkpot.com. So you can find me there. You can find all my social media networks and all my contact details on that website. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Your story is fascinating. I love the different modalities of you growing up in India and then coming here and making a life. And I am just happy that you have found your it. And thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Judy and Kristin. It was great being here.
Well, we are so excited that you shared your story with us, and I'm excited to bring Jane Bishop on. She is a life and business coach, published author, and speaker who founded Take the Next Step out of her passion to help others go for their it. She is known for someone who lives forward, and her passion for life and encouraging others is evident, whether she's chatting with a friend over a cup of coffee, brainstorming with a leadership team, or addressing hundreds of professionals from a platform. Her authenticity, enthusiasm, and innate desire to keep it all about the other person provides the foundation for captivating experience with Jane. Jane, welcome so much to the show. We're so excited to have you on today.
Oh, thank you, Kristin and Judy. I'm delighted to be part of your show this evening.
Oh my gosh, what a charming accent. I love that. Jane, thank you so much for being a Speakers Board member for What Women Want Networking, first of all. I appreciate your support. And, I know you have a lot to tell us and to teach us this evening, so I'm going to let Kristin take it over.
Jane, I read your website, and I was just... there was so much that you do for others, whether it's being an MC of an event, coaching people, consulting, you're an author. How did Jane get to be Jane? That's what I'm curious about. How did you get to become Superwoman?
Oh, well, now I would not use the word Superwoman, Kristin, because, we can have it all. We just can't have it all at one time. So we can be confident in who we are and work on that. But it started early in my life. I think a lot of it, the first 18 years of my life, for example, we moved around as a family because my daddy was in the Army. So we lived in 11 cities, 4 different states, and one foreign country. The first 18 years of my life. So I was constantly stopping and starting, and I was constantly finding my it. And it has just evolved from there.
That's amazing. You've had such a variety of experiences so early on. Now, when you found your it, how did you know it was your it? Like, was it a feeling in the heart? Is it a feeling in the gut? Is it a thought? What is it?
It's all of the above. In listening to you and Judy and Kristin and Chaitra just talking earlier, I noticed the energy in your voices. I noticed the passion. I noticed that the desire to want to tell more. And when somebody has found their it, that's evident, and it comes effortless. When you are operating out of your it, that's your sweet spot. That means as you are in working on what brings you energy, it's effortless. Yes, it's hard sometimes because it is challenging and hard to run a business or to engage with others, but it is not depleting because that's your it. It's a place where you are confident, where you are learning, where you are teachable, and where you can be curious about, okay, well, what's next?
But I think sometimes, Jane, people they're so involved in what they're doing at the moment, whether it's their job or their family or that type of thing, that they don't even realize that there can be something that can make you feel really energetic and alive and passionate and purposeful. So how do you find that thing? Are there some steps you can take? Or what can you do?
Judy, and that is a great observation. And a lot of times women deal with that differently than men because of the culture that we live in. Women are not.
Don't we deal with everything differently?
Well, we do. And that's a whole other subject. But
not that any men listening to this show, because I have a lot of male fans, I must say. No, I'm kidding. But there are some men that listen to the show, and nothing against you guys, but we do think a lot different.
We do, and that's a good thing because then we can play off of each other. But you can find your it, first of all, by tapping into who you really are. You know, Kristin, you asked me the question, well, what makes Jane Jane? Well, I would ask both of you the same question. What makes Kristin Kristin? What makes Judy Judy? And once you become aware of that, then begin to align with that. Give yourself permission that this is who I am. This is what I want to strive for. These are the skills that I need to develop. Often women and men, but often people have created a self-limiting belief by convincing themselves that they're anything, but extraordinary or uncommon because they feel like there's no headline to their life. There's no trending news. There's no breaking news. So they keep themselves in a box. You said earlier, Judy, that you are very organized with boxes. You just don't want to stay in the box.
Right.
I think that's...
So just...
My creative, I don't want my creative side to stay in the box. I want my organized and consistent side to stay in the box.
Yeah. So you find your it by giving yourself permission to be aware of who you are and aligning with that and then embracing it.
My biggest thing was that I feel like I didn't find that till later in life because I stopped trying to be what I thought others wanted me to be, but I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Oh, that's very common, extremely common, because we allow people to define what we're capable or incapable of doing by using parameters that don't even apply to us.
It's true.
Kristin, you seem to find your it so early on in life. I feel like I want to ask you now. Maybe I want to ask Jane. Why do some people not have to go through that kind of soul searching, doing the wrong thing many, many times until you get to it? Some people just have a natural affinity for finding what they love or for recognizing that right away.
I found my it, but I had to keep saying yes to it. And I kept having to say no thank you to what sometimes was pressuring me to go into a different direction. So it's a constant process of saying.
But what drove you to keep saying yes to that?
Well, I kept my it secret for a long time. When I was 18 years old, I didn't say to my mother, "Oh, I'm going to drama school and then I'm moving to Los Angeles." Thank you very much. And going to a conservatory school after getting my 4-year degree. I didn't do that. I didn't say that. I kind of had to shelter my it for a while until others could see the viability of it, because I was very sensitive. And I'm not saying that my mother had this, but I was very sensitive to people's opinions of me, not just my family, but I was queen of academics when I was in high school and college. I graduated with a 3.89 from UT. My college professor.
I knew you were smart.
I had a smart mouth too. But my college professor's like, you should be a college professor. And I never told anybody I had these wild Hollywood dreams until I took the defining action for me. And that was what was right for me. Now, Jane, what was your experience?
Well, I want to make a comment to that first, Kristin, before I answer your question, because that is a great example, Judy, of your question about why is it that some people seem to find their it easier or sooner than others. And sometimes it's because people really give themselves permission to be who they are sooner than others. Variety of experiences, personality, the context of life experiences they have. But how I came into my it, Kristin, to go now to your question, my innate nature is to help other people be the best they can be. And I have been blessed and fortunate through the years to have a variety of different contexts and opportunities to choose to act on that and have those skills be honed and just be able to engage my passion and my gifts and my skills. So it has evolved, but I had to give myself permission to be Jane.
Right.
And I had to learn that early. I had to make that choice early. Being frequently the new kid in the school, being the new kid in the community, with us being so mobile growing up, when you're someplace for a year, you can sit back and stay in a box in a corner, or you can choose to engage and be proactive and make the most of where you are.
I think, that flexibility and adaptability is something that everybody needs a little bit more of when they're pursuing the passion, because it's not always your choice how the universe opens up for you. And,
exactly.
Right. And I think by experience we know that. And one thing I'm interested in talking to you about, Jane, is, some people, there are different terms for this. One of the more frequent ones is a dark night of the soul, or a questioning, or a midlife crisis, depending on, that's kind of how we describe this feeling that some of us have. What happens when your it changes? You've done something, you've been passionate about it for years, and then all of a sudden it's not lighting that fire anymore. How do we navigate that recentering of ourselves?
Well, sometimes naturally our it does change, Kristin. We part of that, one example is to use the traditional term burnout, that we simply do not take care of ourselves, take care of our passion, and it just kind of, we get burnt out on it. So we have to find something new, or open ourselves up to something new that lights our fire again. When we still are passionate about what we want to do, but perhaps it changes context, I'll use myself as an example. I've worked in 3 different contexts: the athletic world, the corporate world, and now as a solopreneur. And in the corporate world that I was in, the last 2 years that I was with that company, I was dry because the company was changing direction, was changing leadership, and I was no longer being used. I wasn't the only one. There were many of us that had been there a long time. And so my mantra for 2 years was get up, get in, and get out. And then I could go on about my business for the day and do things about re-engaging and reigniting my passion, because it wasn't happening there. And then I had the opportunity to make the decision to leave that company and take my gifts and skills and launch my own business. So I had to make a shift. So the it was still there, but it was somewhat weighted down. It was tired, and it needed a little nurturing.
I think you speak to the experience that so many people have, that they focus on, if I only get into this one company, or only get it to this level of the corporation, or if I only achieve this, then that is the it. And then when the it shifts, like you described, it can be really unsettling for people because they've invested so much of that identity into that benchmark that then is not life-giving and life-affirming to them.
Exactly.
Now, I understand you have a book called The Bread Box.
I do.
Tell us about this book.
Well, this is everybody needs a bread box, and bread can be a source of quick energy, and it can create comfort foods and everything. So, this is how to live life by the slice. And I've written a book with little.
Jane, I'm sorry to interrupt you. There's a little bit of feedback. Do you have any browsers open on your computer?
No, I'm not hearing anything.
Just have a little bit of feedback on your phone. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Is that so? I'll keep talking and maybe see if that's better.
Yeah,
I'm not around anything, so
okay. Yeah, it must be maybe just some interception that we can't help.
And I'll press some magic
go ahead.
buttons
The bread box, life by the slice. I want to hear this one too.
Yeah, life by the slice is little slices of my life that I share in short little vignettes, I call them. And at the end of every chapter are suggestions of how to create your own slice and be able to look at life from a perspective that you can put slices and create your own bread box, so that when you have those moments that you need a slice of encouragement, you need a slice of reminding yourself, hey, I have an it and I can still go after it, or whatever is needed, you can just reach in there and pull that out.
I think that's such a beautiful idea because, in the ordinary, there is the extraordinary. And I think your book points to that, is that when you do get into that burnout, dry spot, you can refill your cup or really take nurturance from something just as simple as watching a butterfly in your garden, or appreciating your grandkid's smile, or something your pet did, and I think that also speaks to gratitude. We talk a lot about gratitude here on the show. Do you think how important is being grateful for those ordinary and extraordinary moments to keeping that cup full?
It is extremely important and significant, and I think in the technology age that we live in, Kristin and Judy, it's even more significant and important now than it was even 10 years ago, because we move at such a fast pace with our technology. How many people know how to stop and pause and be in that moment for that moment?
No, it's so true. And a lot of times when you're dealing with technology, it's to make things faster and faster and faster and faster, and streamline and automate something, and really take you out of the experience instead of into the experience.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And one example is there's a little slice in my book about the power of play. When is the last time either one of you went to the dollar store, got a bottle of bubbles, and just had a bubble break and just blew bubbles?
Okay, well, that's a regular thing for me, Jane, because I'm actually 12 years old, but I haven't told Judy. No, see, because part of my process is doing that every day. I mean, there's watercolors and crayons and pool noodles, and that's how I keep my inner child, who's rather feisty, happy. But not everybody has that, and everybody, in my opinion, should.
Well, I have two 12-year-olds, so I get plenty of bubbles and biking and cards and playing jokes and tricks and all that. So, I'm actually forced to do that, which is a good thing. But you're right, we do have to take those breaks, and again, like Kristin said, constantly on this show, another common thread is the gratitude, and I would say meditation, because meditation doesn't have to be necessarily sitting cross-legged on the floor and chanting. It can be gazing at a flower or taking a walk in the park, and just really meditating on God's goodness and nature and everything that fills us up inside, because without that, then we can't be we can't reach our highest potential. So,
Exactly.
and that's really what my conference is about, Spirit of Women. It's all about reaching that potential and using every aspect of your life to apply to all of your life. Not just trying to be successful in business, but personally too.
And that's what going for your it is all about. You just captured it.
Wow, thank you. I don't even know what I said, but I hope it was good.
Well, that's
Well,
why
you can
we have a
listen to the
replay,
recording.
Judy. See, Judy, you can listen to the replay, this profound insight.
You want to plug that, Kristin?
Yes,
yeah,
I do.
no, I do truly believe that, and it's funny because unlike Kristin, it took me all this time to figure it out, pretty much my whole life. But I am fully realizing, and as I'm realizing, it's just coming faster and faster what I'm learning. But you really do have to, like Jane, you said earlier that you got to kind of start from the inside out, right? You have to know who you are, and you have to not be afraid to show that to people, and so many of us are, especially women, and especially when we're dealing with career and really our life's passions. So you really have to, if anyone here is listening, you really have to take that and really think about it and meditate on it, because it's something that I, for sure, didn't realize I was doing for a long, long time. I didn't know I was repressing. I didn't see myself as a repressed type of person.
Yeah. Well, and Judy, one of my favorite quotes is a great thing I'll ask the listeners to ponder, is from John Mason. You were born an original, don't die a copy. So how can you be your original self?
It's true.
Yeah, that is profound. I mean, it is true, Kristin.
No, it's absolutely true. You're the only Judy. You're the only Jane. I'm the only Kristin, and there's nobody that's going to be better or worse at being you. And you can be your best self, and you can be your worst self, and still be fabulous and what the divine intended for you to be. And I think that's important. And now I'm going to have to listen to the replay of this too. But
well, and one thing Chaitra said, don't be afraid to make mistakes. I don't know that those were her exact words, but something similar to that she had to try different things before she found her it. The great news is, and you, Judy, said you feel like you've taken it your whole life, but that's okay. You found it.
Oh my gosh, I've had every career or job imaginable. I mean, from bank teller to, modeling agent. I was a high fashion model, of course, you guys probably know, and to everything on that side and the other side, and it's just wild the amount of things I've tried and done and failed at, succeeded at, and for me, that was my journey, I guess. That was just, I had to try 8 million things until I really found, what clicked.
And I think everything is preparation as well, because yes, you were a bank teller, but that taught you how the banking system works, and you've probably applied some of that knowledge over the years to facilitate your life. I was a personal assistant for years to two very different types of people. And let me tell you something, I know how to ship and do courier service like nobody else. And I have actually had to use that with films that I have been a part of, shipping art and shipping various and sundry props anywhere and everywhere, and figuring that out and figuring out customs. I'm actually using that knowledge today. So everything, in a sense, I believe, is preparation. And even though you may not be on it, everything around you serves your it, if you allow that, I would think. What do you think about that, Jane?
Oh, most definitely. I would. You had just said it. Everything has prepared you for where you are now, and I think all three of us, if we had the time, could elaborate on that with more detail. But in that preparation, it's going back to choosing to be the person that you are, having that awareness, and giving yourself permission to align with that. It's that permission factor that so many people struggle with. of really acknowledging, this is who I am, this is what I want to do.
Well, I definitely want permission to buy this book. So where do we get a hold of this book, Jane? Because I think it would actually help a lot of our listeners kind of recenter and refocus and refill that spirit. So where do we find it?
Absolutely. You can find it on my website, Take the Next Step, cct.com. Or if you prefer a Kindle version of it, you can get it at Amazon. It's called The Bread Box, Life by the Slice. If you order it from my website, you'll get an autographed copy. And all of the information is on the website about how to order the book, as well as my contact information and how I can assist you.
Now, you also do events, you do coaching and consulting. And
I do.
Tell us about that. If we need Jane in person, because you just have such an infectious energy, if we need a dose of Jane, how do we find you there?
Well, if you need a dose of Jane, you go to my website and you can email me or you can call me. And my email address is jane@takethenextstepcct.com, and you will actually get a response from me and or a phone call, whichever you request. Or you
and Kristin, you're so funny. You nailed it right on the head. The first second I met Jane, it was down in Atlanta, and she stood up and introduced herself, and I thought to myself, I like that woman. You know, you really do. You have this magnetic quality about you. What is your niche? What kind of coaching, if someone would come to you, what would that client look like?
Well, that client would look like that they are at some point in their life. I call it in the mids, not necessarily midlife crisis, but that they're stuck. And they want to make a shift, they need to make a shift, but they don't know how. And so as a life and business coach, I help them make that shift so they can be confident in who they are and continue on their life journey.
Excellent. And you come from all perspectives, all different angles, so you can really teach them how to get it together. So take the next step, cct.com. That's your website.
Yes.
And if you'd like to get a hold of Jane, you can go on her website. And her new book, The Bread Box, Life by the Slice, is on Amazon. And Jane, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really enjoyable tonight.
It's been delightful. Thank you, Kristin and Judy, for allowing me the opportunity to just chat with you all and the listeners tonight. It's been great.
It is our pleasure. And I just want to give a shout out to our new chapter that just opened up this evening in Cincinnati, Ohio for our What Women Want networking company. I'm just so excited. Mary Lou Harris is running the chapter. She launched with the mayoral candidate Yvette Simpson out there who spoke. She was the keynote this evening. So very exciting stuff. What Women Want Cincinnati, Ohio is now opening. And for What Women Want Talk Radio, next week we have Emmy award-winning TV journalist Jane Hansen for the show Broadcasting Your Brand. She's going to help us figure out how to effectively communicate who we are when we're selling ourselves, whether it's public speaking, interviews, or really just walking into a room. It makes a difference. And her partner, Mary Civiello, who, by the way, were the first female anchor team in the country, first female news anchor team. So that'll be pretty interesting to talk to them. Thank you, Kristin, again, for being my awesome co-host. And everyone else, thank you for listening. It's all here on LA Talk Radio, or go to whatwomenwantradio.com for more info. Thanks again for listening, and have a good night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss, only on LA Talk Radio.